Guess I'll go lead off. Jevon, how you doing?
Good, man. How you doing? I was kind of waiting in happenstance there. I appreciate you asking the question.
I mean, I'm at this event here. I figured somebody would have jumped in for me. I'll be Ricky Henderson today. um, for you, just kind of first of all, how was your bye week? Did you kind of get away and relax a little bit?
Yeah, it was great. Went down to sunny side Florida. Just took some time off, chilled, kicked it with with some friends, family. So it was a good time.
Awesome. For you, I guess these last 4 weeks, I guess, how do you as a veteran just kind of approach, last 4 weeks? Obviously, you guys want to end this losing streak, but does anything change with the approach, kind of with the reset, or is it still the same? Focus on this week, take care of this, to try to turn the tide a little bit.
Yeah, I think you just reemphasize, being 1-0 in the week. That's starting off with recovery on, today, yesterday. Getting back right from the bye week. Wednesday, Thursday, locking in on those days. Friday, detail some things up. Saturday, you should be just all mental prep, and then want to go 1-0 on Sunday. So I think it's just, it stays the same as like in terms of just like a 1-0 mentality. Week by week, we can't really control anything that happened in the past anymore. So we just focus on the week ahead of us and try to go 1-0.
On a different kind of, I know Brian Burns is not in your position room, but just being around him as a teammate, just what have you seen from him that makes him one such a good leader, and two makes him so great on the field, just from what you've seen on that back end?
Yeah, I think he just does the things that take no talent. He does those things well. The effort to the ball, the handling his process through week in and week out. Handling recovery and making sure that he's on the job. Yeah, I think he just handles the simple things very well, and that allows him to have a clear mind when he's out there playing. And when you have a clear mind on the field, you just react and you're playing your best. So I think that's what gives him the advantage.
Awesome. Thank you.
Brian Dunleavy.
Hey, Jevon, thanks for doing this.
No problem.
Um, when you signed here, you talked about like coming here, being part of a winning culture, and I think that's every free agent when they go to a new place. Like one of the things they're weighing, besides the contract, is like, where can I go and win? It's the first time you have a say in where you can go and win. So how much has this come as a surprise to you to be where you are, and how certain are you guys can get this fixed?
I'm very certain that we can get this fixed. I mean, I feel like every year, you go through, different swings of adversity, and you have to fight those with, other forms of distractions. But I think this year, regardless of how our record is, I feel like we've been in a lot of games and, down to the wire. And I'm confident that, in these last 4 games, we're going to be able to, exemplify that we can win those games and more close and towards the end of the fourth quarter. And, leading into next year and just focusing on us being, our best in those dire situations. I'm very confident, and I think still to this day that we have that ability to go out there and win. I just think that the cards didn't fall our way, and that just it happens. It's any given Sunday, so yeah, I'm not discouraged or anything like that. I mean what I said when I first got here, and I'm going to continue to stand by that.
Do you It's interesting what you said about being in the games. Like, is a loss, Jevon? Or when you go home at the end of the season, or even last week on your bye week, when you have perspective, is there more encouragement in the fact that you're in a lot of games, or is a loss, or is 2-11 2-11?
I mean, 2-11 is still tough, but when you watch the games and especially playing in the games, there has been moments where I'm like, man, we were right there. You know what I mean? Like this one or two plays that kind of give the other team the advantage to go and get the dub. And those are lessons that we can learn from, and that we're continuing to learn from. But yeah, a loss is a loss. Through and through. 2-11 is 2-11. We do have to win those games, but we are learning a lot from them, and it's encouraging knowing that we're in the game and we can play with whatever team that we go against. We just have to figure out how to continue to put it together throughout the whole course of the game.
Thanks, Shabbat.
No problem.
Paul Schwartz.
Hey, Jevon, how are you? How you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good, good. I'm wondering, you were a guy, some of your teammates are probably going to be in your position that you were in last year. 4 years with the team that drafted you, and then you move on into the open market and you sign with a new team. Can you just think back on that a little bit? Was this a tough time, thinking about that last year? Am I going to be here? Am I going to be back? And if any of your teammates who might be in that situation asked you about, what might be coming for them down the road?
Are you talking about right now, like with 4 games left, and I'm thinking about it last year?
No. I mean, I'm sure you're not thinking about it now. I'm showing, last year at this time you were closing out. You were getting ready to end one chapter and begin another chapter, which you've started with the Giants. Other guys in your locker room are probably going to be doing the same thing. Is that a difficult thing for an athlete to think about? And maybe do you have some suggestions or recommendations to some of your teammates about what they might be headed into?
I don't. Last year, when I was in this point right now during the season with 4 games left, there was no thought of me going to another team. There was just the thought of me finishing out the season. And I feel like there's no one on this team that has that thought process of thinking about next year, where they're going to be at. Everybody's focused on where their feet are. So when the offseason comes, I'll have all the advice that they need. But right now, I don't got no advice for them because I don't think anybody was going to ask for that advice for real.
And that's a discipline that you believe athletes have. I mean, I always try to put myself in a situation of somebody, even though I'm certainly not a player like you are, and think, boy, I don't know where I'm going to be next year. And sometimes that just goes into your head, even though you don't want it to. You're saying that you feel that discipline is such that you're thinking about this week, and the players mostly don't think about, I wonder where I'm going to be next year. They're too disciplined for that, you think?
Yep.
That was a very disciplined final answer. Thank you.
Yep. That was the point.
We'll take one more. Art Stapleton.
What's up, Jevón? How you doing?
Hey, Art.
Why do wins matter when you're 2-11? Why does it matter to you guys to go out there on Sunday and win? I know it's about doing a job. I know you're a professional, but what is it about winning a game? What does that mean to you and to this team?
I just hate losing. I'm a competitor, so winning is what I want to do. I don't want to lose. I don't care if it's for anything. I play this game for fun. I happen to get compensated for it, which is great for me and my family, but I play the game for fun, and I want to win because winning is fun. So that's what winning means to me. Sorry, you muted.
Sorry.
No,
You think that that gets lost sometimes when all the focus is, I mean, look, everybody wants to win championships and win divisions and, win a lot of games in this league. But when you get to a point, there's only a small group of people who are actually still playing for that this late in the season. Does it get lost sometime? Do you have to remind yourself of why you play the game as a team collectively? Maybe not necessarily you as an individual.
That's a good question. I don't necessarily think, you have to remind people, why we play the game and whatnot. I think the people who end up winning championships, they realize that looking at the championship game is not where your focus needs to be, because you have to win the next game in order to get to the championship. So if you just focus on the next game and then that's like the only way that you can step forward and move forward throughout the postseason, late in the season, December football. Yeah, if that answers your question. I really don't, because if you focus on trying to win championships, obviously that's the overall goal, right? But you can't get to the championship if you don't win the next game right in front of you. And if you overlook the next game in front of you, then that's how, teams take advantage of you. Or, there's been plenty of times when a team has a bad record and then a really good team plays them, and then the bad team, so quote unquote, beats the good team. And it's oh, these guys were overlooked, yada, yada, yada. But a lot of the time, that's not the case. Teams are just focused on winning the next game, regardless of their record. So,
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, you answered it. Thanks. Appreciate it.
No problem, man.
We'll take one more quick one from Dunleavy. Go ahead, Ryan.
Jevón, I was just wondering, the last time you guys played Washington, the outside buildup was huge measuring test for the Giants against the NFC Championship game participants. Is this a reminder for everybody that it's such a year-to-year league? Is it even a reminder for players that it's such a team's fates can flip from one year to the next?
Not really. No. I mean, it's the next game, so it's important. But I don't think that's the outside buildup is kind of what I was focused on in your question, and I feel like I don't really care what the outside buildup is.
No, I meant Washington's fate of going from NFC Championship game to, I don't know, I think they're 3-10 or whatever. So it just shows you how much things can change from one year to the next.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, their quarterback went down. They had some things going on. Same with us. Our quarterback had gone down a little bit. We got some guys banged up. So, like, it happens like every year. You never know when it's gonna happen, or you just kind of gotta take the crickets with the straights. So, yeah,
Appreciate you. Thanks.
no problem.
Jermaine, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Hey, you have said that you feel like you're playing the best football of your career individually.
Mhm.
Just how much would it mean to you, just personally, to make the Pro Bowl, to get an honor like that, when it's all said and done?
It would be cool. If you kind of look at my career and the trajectory I've had. I got drafted to Baltimore. I got traded to New England after my third year. Well, during my third year there in the preseason. But if you look before that, I got cut because I'm P squad, then got elevated, started a game, and then was on the active roster the rest of the season. Then in New England, I was inactive that entire 2019 season, or a good majority of it. And then the 2020 season was a COVID season. And I played and then didn't play, went on IR, came back, was a starter, but got benched. And then, started the last couple of games at left tackle. And then the year after that, signed in Miami in like June, right before training camp. And then got cut midway through training camp because I just wasn't a fit there with the regiment they had there. And then, I go to Jacksonville for 2 days, fly to Jacksonville. I'm with the O-line coach at like 11, 12 a.m. in the morning, wake up, fly to Dallas for the preseason game, get back to Jacksonville, get cut. Then literally within minutes of getting cut, fly to Las Vegas, sign with their active roster with John Gruden, and I'm there for 3 seasons. That first season I was there in 21, started a couple of games, but then got benched because they just had guys that they wanted to play over me, which is how the NFL works. And then re-signed there for a minimum contract. And ended up starting a right tackle, having to rotate the first couple of games because they wanted to see if I was the right tackle. And then the next year, re-signing there again and still having to rotate with guys. And then finally getting to start the rest of the season and then signing here. And, finally being able to, be the guy. But then last year having to move to left tackle because of injuries. And then, now we're in the 2025 season where I'm able to stay at one position for the entire season. So, there's been a lot of ups and downs throughout my entire career, but, it just goes to show that if you just put your head down and you work and you believe in yourself throughout everything you're going through, then, you can accomplish whatever you want to accomplish in this profession. And the only person who can stop you is you.
Thank you.
Paul Schwartz.
Hey, Jermaine, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Oh, good. Is there a balancing act in your mind? You have 4 games to go, and you don't have a contract for next year. Is it just as easy as saying I'm just concerned about this next game, or would you say that you are concerned in some way, shape, or form about what comes next for you and where you're going to be? Those kind of things.
No, because I've been on 1-year contracts ever since my second year in the league. So, every year for me has kind of been a prove it deal or a situation where I don't have anything guaranteed for the next season. Like this was my first long-term contract I signed, or multiple year contract I signed since my rookie year. So, like I said, I've been on 1-year contracts ever since 2018. So, for me, it's kind of same old, but it's cool because I'm playing my best ball right now. I'm confident. I feel great out there. I'm having a lot of fun, and I think that's why my play has been the way it is. I don't really worry about the future. I just worry about the present and what I'm going through. And I got 4 more games to just show this team that I can be part of the future, and just show the rest of the league that I believe I'm the best right tackle in the league. So, it's been a fun season for me and the offensive line as a whole, and I'm just looking forward to the last 4 games.
You said you proved to this team and the league. What's the priority there, this team or the league?
Always starts with the team you're on. I can't control whatever people think about me, but as long as in this building they think highly of me and the way I go out there and I play and prepare and I do everything I can to help this team win, that's what matters most to me.
Do you have any sense on what they think about you and moving forward, those kind of things?
I'm still starting, so obviously if they believe that you're a starter, they think highly of you in this profession, and I know that because I haven't always been a starter in my career. So, in order to be a starter, that means they trust you, and I feel like I've done my job at a high level this year along with AT. So, I believe they think highly of me, and my online coach does, and to me, that's all that matters.
Now, do you think highly of them? You're 2-11. You know what I mean? And signing into the team that has been losing the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, that's why I came here, because I want to be a part of the change. And, like I said, last year was last year. But then if you really look at the games this year, obviously we're 2-11, but a majority of those games we were winning, or, we were dominating the line of scrimmage. And for me, that's all I can control is how I do my job and how we do our job as a collective offensive line. And like I said, if you look at what I've done and what AT's done, GV, Schmidt, Runyon, as offensive line, we've been one of the best in the league. So, we can't really control the wins and losses. All we can control is the way we play on a weekly basis. And, I think that's been at a high level.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
Art Stapleton.
Hey, Jermaine, what's going on?
How you doing?
Good. You detailed your personal journey in the league pretty well in the beginning.
Yeah.
Just in terms of, out of any players that I've spoken to, you've been very in tune, since I met you, in terms of the personal versus the collective, and the idea of, I guess part of it is being an offensive lineman. You have to think about yourself personally, but you're always thinking of the collective. How do you balance that year to year, even game to game? The idea of you want to focus on your individual, but you also don't want to lose sight of what's going on in the bigger picture. And how does that balance kind of work into your success, or maybe what you're not succeeding at as a team?
I'd say you have to be able to not think about the future in a sense, especially playing offensive line, because it's such a high pressure position being out there on the island at tackle that if you think about things that you can't control, then you're going to go out there and just lose the battle. Like this year, we've had a lot of great matchups out there, me and AT, HUD, Bo, and for the most part, we've won those. But for me as an individual, it's just been about on a weekly basis, how can I be the best me? How can I be the best version of myself? And how can I help this team win and put this team in a winning position? And that's just by going out there and locking people up and doing my job. And at the end of the season, I'll be where I want to be individually because of what I've been doing during the year. But, I've been in this position multiple times now where you don't know what's going to happen next season. And, your play and the film you put out there can determine that. And sometimes I let it get to me and, certain matchups I didn't perform how I needed to perform because I was thinking about the future. This year has been cool because I don't think about that at all. And obviously, there's 4 games left that's coming up, but I don't really think about that now. And I'm also not worried about it because I'm having a lot of fun this year, but I'm also doing what I need to do out there where when that comes, it will handle itself because of what I've been doing and, what I've been able to accomplish this season.
Gotcha. Thank you, man.
No problem.
Last one, Ryan Dunleavy.
Hey, Jermaine, thanks for doing this.
Of course.
I don't know. Players probably don't need a reminder of it, but it kind of is a reminder. When you guys played the Commanders the first time, it was like, oh, it's a measuring stick for the Giants against the NFC Championship game runner-up last year, and now here they are in a very similar position to you.
Mm-hmm.
If it's kind of this game kind of serves as a reminder for people that the NFL is a year-to-year league, and just because you're good one year doesn't mean you're going to be good the next year, and vice versa. Just because you guys are having a tough year doesn't mean another tough year is coming next year.
No, 100%. I mean, I think you see that throughout the league. Like the Detroit Lions, they made the NFC Championship a couple of years ago, and Dan Campbell, after that season, said this may have been our only chance, and they haven't been back since. Joe Burrow made the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and people thought, oh, he's going to make this a seasonal thing, and he hasn't been back since. See with the Chiefs, they're 6-7, and they were in their dynasty, quote unquote. So, it's really hard to win in this league on a yearly basis. It's really hard to be the team that everyone is looking towards as a standard. Like there's no standard in the NFL. There's teams that win, there's teams that lose, and every year, every week is a new challenge, and you have to be ready to meet that challenge head on. And obviously losing sucks. You don't go out there to lose games. You go out there to win. And every team's lost games this year. There's no perfect team in the NFL, and there won't be a perfect team in the NFL. It's hard to go 17-0, win the Super Bowl without winning the game, without losing the game. So I think every week you just have to look yourself in the mirror and be like, what can we do better? What can we accomplish this game? And how can we put ourselves in a better situation moving forward? And, these last 4 weeks, we're going to try to accomplish that. Go out there, win these games, and, worry about the future, just worry about the present and put ourselves in the best situation moving forward.
Has the closeness of this year's games been harder to swallow for you, or easier than last year? Like last year didn't feel like you guys were knocking on the door quite as much. Has 2-11 this year hit any different than 2-11 last year? And if so, is it harder or easier to swallow?
No, 2-11 sucks. Yeah, 2-11 sucks, period. I mean, I'm not going to look at this record and be like, yeah, we're 2-11 now, we're 2-11 last year, but it's different. No, it's not different. It's the same. We're 2-11. Like, you did things last year that got you to 2-11. We did things this year that got us to 2-11. And, I can say that our play is different. We're in close games, but we didn't finish those games. And so, I'm not the type to cherry pick things and, look at the positives. So I'm a positive guy by nature, but at the same time, we're 2-11 still. So, obviously there's a lot of things for us to improve as a team and, me individually, but there's no cherry picking at the record. Like, I feel like that's kind of like loser mentality, being like, oh yeah, let's look at this and look at that. Now we're 2-11. We fight every single game. As every single game, this team puts their effort forward, and, effort's not a question. What the want is not a question. It's just about us as a team just being better. And like I said, these last 4 games are huge for us because we win these next 4 games, we put ourselves in a great position going forward, and put this franchise in a great position going forward.
Thanks, Jermaine. Appreciate you.
Of course.